It is a wonderful platform to meet and interact with so many scholars from so many countries and with so many thought lines. But one common thing which connects all of us today is Buddhism, and especially when you have highlighted my session to relate with the youth, is a great time to understand about youth and their relation and interaction, which is how happening in the world. And I have, as you have rightly said, selected the area of Southeast Asia, where I generally try to know history and culture or religion there. So, first of all, let us see how do we understand this total scenario. Uh, if you see the history of Southeast Asia, apart from Thailand to a certain extent, the entire South Asia was, wherever you find elements of Buddhism, was completely under colonial rules of different masters, whether it was British in Myanmar or French in Cambodia or Vietnam and Laos. These all places have this imprint, big imprint of a culture which was completely alien in the area. And this complete alienation also brought a very different society. And if you see post Second World War, they do have another wave of influence coming in the area following the publication of materials on European culture, European political situation. That was the advent of Marxism. And in this kind of two juxtaposed situation, where you can see the colonial power ended, rather landed into the hands of those who did not believe religion. So you can see, especially after 1945 to 1995, 50 years, the youth and Buddhism was some subject which was only in the books and not in a social behavior. As you know, in Cambodia, during Pol Pot regime, 80% of Buddhist youth, teachers, professors, and monks were killed, massacred. Similarly, the evangelism was at a top peak in Laos and Myanmar, and to certain extent in certain parts of Thailand. So you can see when the colonial masters were there, and when the new masters came with one party line, one single party line, youth were suffering quite a lot. But with the advent of a new era, starting especially after the agreement of 1975 in Myanmar, and also in 2012 election times, and also in Thailand, the the area to promote Buddhism by providing a special money by the central government of Thailand, and certain other exercises which happened in Indonesia and also in Vietnam made youth aware who are they. So the first part of our suffering in youth or youth world in this area is affected by this kind of situation, because they learned mostly about Buddhism as a system which was not known to them as a subject, which will be very difficult to understand, and it will be easier to understand. The youth was learning about past by their own parents and sisters. So this is a situation which makes us to realize how youth can react to that. So as I said to you, the agreements and other things have happened, and it would be important to us to know that there was a sudden upsurge among youth about the value.
So if you can speak a little louder so that you're not so audible.
Can you, is it better now?
Ah, it is better, sir.
Okay, sorry about the mic. So this situation is very important to understand, that how youth could revive themselves or revive Buddhism. But as I said, every bad days have some end, and the challenges which came up became part of the genre of youth in this South Asian region where we are talking about. So now the awareness of their heritage in Southeast Asia was the most important key for them to grow, to understand the value of that. Before, see, in Thailand there was no situation like what you have in Myanmar. In Cambodia, you could not think of telling yourself that you are a Buddhist. You could not say even a word about Buddhism till 1992 in Laos. And this situation became much more difficult in the period after post-colonial duration. Now, when the awareness comes about keeping up their heritage, if you see, tangible heritage of all these countries are mostly Buddhism. So Buddhist sites, Buddhist architecture, Buddhist art became a subject of great care. And in this form, youth were getting involved into that. Many places, departments of archaeology were developed where they could teach about art and architecture. Of course, when they would talk about art and architecture, Buddhism would become major part of that. So now the youth were aware and they are ready for coming to help and understand their past. So this nostalgia of themselves about Buddhism, they could not get into the mind before, but they are much more aggressive into that. And you must also remember the side effect of Vietnam War in the entire Southeast Asia. Many young people who survived and fled away, you can see about 2 million people of Vietnam origin living in Indonesia, in USA, and also some part of Canada, that have been possible because of that is the reason. Is very, very important to understand about this factor that youth were worried about what they can understand about their cultural thing, and that would be important to see the national pride. This national pride among youth led to the creation of Buddhist Sunday School. And this Buddhist Sunday School, the concept came from Christianity, but they utilize it together on Sundays so that they can learn certain terms and terminology about morality and values of ethics, especially in Thailand and Cambodia. They started in a big way. In 1990s, you can see there was another challenge coming up, so youth has to take up again their hands. And what is happening? When the modern life started, many countries have a different kind of problem of conversion. Highlands of population which you see in northern Thailand, the provinces like Mae Hong Son or the places near Chiang Rai, they got huge number of indigenous people being brought into the fold of some sorts of Christianity. This was very much well noted down among Buddhist Sangha in Thailand, especially in Bangkok, because that area Buddhist monks were trying to spread the message of Buddhism, and they were not able to be doing that because of the support of the local people, and the facilities being provided by the alien people was not matching to them. Similarly, there was a situation of war torn Cambodia, which would mean that youth in non-capital provinces were also having a problem, like for example Battambang in Cambodia. The South Korean evangelists started coming there. Luang Prabang in Laos, Toraja Sulawesi in Indonesia. There were certain pockets of Buddhism were getting lost completely. So youth came up by learning the methods of what they have found in alien land, and they could develop a group of association, as very rightly said by my previous Vietnamese scholar, that how youth are forming a team and they do work into a system where they try to promote their own religion, their forms of that. You see, the promotion of vegetarianism is not an essential part of Buddhism, because when you see Southeast Asia, 75% they do belong to part of Theravada. In Theravada tradition, the meat eating is not a subject, but in Mahayana countries where 70%, like in Vietnam, they do have this concept of Buddhism and vegetarianism. So that is highly promoted by high ranking monks in Vietnam. So that became very much matching with the vegan movement in the West. So you see, this is also a parallel line to be seen how youth gets motivated. You see, for promoting their own cultural values or Buddhist values or Buddhist heritage or Buddhist ethics, they did find certain parallel which helped them to understand, and they could use those very, very well. So that's why you can see in 1997, I remember in Ho Chi Minh City, you could not find even two vegetarian shops. And today, 2017, after 20 years, you can see 650 shops only in Vietnam, only in Ho Chi Minh City. So this kind of vegetarianism, matching with Mahayana ethics of Buddhism, became very much popular, a great power of youth. Now, youth was coming up, and the youth was also demanding to know more about their religion. So Buddhist Sangha, especially I am referring to Thailand, they came up with youth character build-up program. They would gather them in the monastery for a few days, and they will talk to them by telling the stories of the past, especially Bodhisattva stories, Vaishantara Jatak, and all these things built up their characters. And that was highly matched by Sangha's support line by organizing Lakhon in all Buddhist temples in entire Thailand, where they could talk about their Buddhist heritage, sacrifices of Bodhisattva and all, that led to a great service to the nation. Now, what is happening? Youth in this area, being Buddhist, they thought there any archaeological art heritage should not be lost. So, since 1987, there has been youth in Thailand and Cambodia especially fighting for getting back the Buddhist art pieces stolen from the area during colonial time and also during Marxian time, because during Marxian time also it was very easy to take away, smuggle out Buddhist statues. So this result of Buddhist youth is very marvelous. We in fact in India should learn from them, because if you see in the last 2 years, especially to 2018 to 2020, there have been 45 high quality images of Buddhism brought back to Cambodia and Thailand. I just had a news 2 days ago, 560 pieces of Cambodian culture is now on the way after they have won the case in Maryland, USA. So you can see the youth made it a subject. Our heritage is our heritage, our Buddhism is our Buddhism, we have to protect it. So these kind of things have come up in a bigger way. Now, coming up of that, now let us see why the youth have been facing problem in 2020, 2010 due to forced conversion is simply because of the facilities. Medicine and hospitals, as you have seen in Indian case, in northeastern India, down south, they offer beautiful medicinal hospitals and all, and electricity type of things. So they were lured to join them because there is only Jesus was the hope for them. Similarly, when there was a crisis, they could show them by showing small images of Bible. See, when you are touching that, the magic will come. And the Santa Claus type of things were happening in Battambang, which I have seen from my own eyes. And the South Korean chartered plane will land in that remote area, stay with 15 boys and girls in the same village, and every time they would take the 120-seater plane with at least 60 youth in the name of education. So this was an outcry in Buddhist Sangha, in Vietnam especially, and also in Thailand. Why not we provide them higher education? If you remember, till 1990, master's degree course was also not available in many of these countries. Maximum study was bachelor, and after bachelor they became professors also. There was no concept of masters. So you can see when you see the history 1990s onwards, all these South Asian countries, I'm talking about except Singapore and Malaysia, they had created lots of master's degree program. Even for Vietnam, Buddhism, PhD Buddhist program has just come there 7 to 8 years ago. So you can see the new awakening came because youth were lured and taken away to Norway, South Korea, other places in Scandinavia to make them part of their agents so they can come back and take more and more people from here for that. Now, Buddhist Sangha also demanded in 2020 that they should have much more medicinal facilities in hospitals by the government support. Thanks to coronavirus, novel coronavirus, we have found a great emphasis came from Buddhist monks among youth to take up the cause of traditional medicines based on the plants and trees. This is some sort of, you can say, Ayurveda in action. A in A among youth of Thailand and Cambodia and also in Laos. This has come up in a big way. So going back to the roots, Buddhist youth now in this area is working to get people into that. We have just heard from our previous speaker talking about engaged Buddhism. Engaged Buddhism sounds very attractive title, but you know, it is no more that much engaging Buddhism, to be very truthful to you. This concept of engaged Buddhism, which came from University of California, Los Angeles in 1965, was given impetus by Dalai Lama's getting Nobel Prize in 1989. And in the name of engaged Buddhism, there has been batches and batches of people moving in the forests. And again, in the name of interfaith dialogue, engaged Buddhism platform has been hijacked continuously by many scholars and many people who could talk about that it is good to have a dialogue with Christianity. So engaged Buddhism is a new form of neo-colonial master's plan, which one has to be very careful. Engaged Buddhism looks sound, but when you go into the detail, what is happening, one has to be very careful. I tell my all South Asian young boys and girls to take care of that fact. You see, there is no question of talking about goodness of all the religions. Just protecting our own religion is more important without harming others. That is the most important motive. Youths are learning in many ways in that. Finally, I would like to add two more points. This impetus among young minds of Buddhist nature in the areas of Southeast Asia have been further caused by their exposure to their family relatives staying in Western countries. Especially, I'm talking about Long Island area in California, where you can see at least 200,000 Vietnamese people living there. They did learn how difficult it was for them to continue the practice for which they have saved their life and ran away from Vietnam. They could not find that much facilities here. They were always pooh-poohed in the market. Who are they? Yellow skin, all bad terms they were listening to. And this made them aware. And then Thich and other types of monks have promoted who are you? Who am I? Concept among youth. This concept made them like some sort of jago in them. And that made them fight for that, because when there is a Buddha medallion used by pop stars in a very derogatory and pornographic way, it is the youth of Buddhism, they fight. And it is very happy to learn from many of our reporting that sometimes Ganesha also belongs to them. Buddhist youth have been fighting in many countries abroad as a citizen of those countries after becoming a permanent residency there, and they do fight about that. Last year there was a big fight only for one image which was taken from Angkor Wat complex, but when the image was found, it was the image of Balarama. It's not a Buddhist image, as you know, Balarama, Krishna Balarama story. But I asked Buddhist youth, why you are fighting? Sir, for you it may be Hindu, but for me it's not Hindu. It is our heritage. Our heritage. We have to fight it. They spend about $1 million fighting cases in America. As you know, fighting cases in America for loss of stolen properties and bringing back is a very tough job. They do charge a lot, but they collected money from donations from many places. So for them, the syncretic nature of Indic religion is very important core subject in their mind, and I'm happy with the association also coming of Buddhist association in other countries like Young Buddhist Association of Indonesia, in California and Washington and Maryland. They have 20,000 young Buddhists from Indonesia working for the promotion of Buddhist gathering. Indonesia and Buddhism does not sound very strong, as we have no complete idea about that. But you may know the Chinese migration in 17th century in Indonesia has created about 6 million population of Buddhism in Buddhist in Indonesia in many locations, especially Yogyakarta and also Surabaya type of places. So this is very important to see that Buddhism, which was completely gone after the days of Borobudur, by the new advent of the new religion coming from Arab, they could still revive that with the Jin Rakhita, the most famous monk of 19th and 20th century, who revived Buddhism in Indonesia and is an icon for all youth in Buddhist Indonesia. So these are happening in many parts of the world. They do protect their culture and they go back home and they try to help them in the same manner, like what one can think of that. With these words, I have to cut short my other points because I have a meeting with my real boss, so I have to run there. But still, I'm available here for taking some questions, and I'm very grateful to ICCR and all other people involved into this kind of Rajiv Gandhi Center and all for giving me an opportunity to interact, though not that much longer, not much great. I'm happy to learn from all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Amarjiva Lochan, for that very interesting presentation on post-colonial youth involvement in the growth of Buddhism and protection of Buddhism in Southeast Asia. It was quite interesting to listen to all that kind of information. There are a lot of questions for you, sir. I will, if you can look it, when they're all in the chat box, but I'll just read them to you. Dr. Pawan Kumar again, he asks, does belief and practices among Indian youth about Buddhism start with the Buddha, who has been decorated as the ninth avatar of Lord Vishnu?
You see, when we take this concept of Avatara and Buddhism and Buddha, in Indian case, it might be some kind of inspiration for youth to pick up. But in the South Asian location, Avatara concept would be creating some sort of a strife without no reasons when they are already having Ganesha and Shiva worshipped more than Murugan, more than anything in the entire world. We should be happier with that. We do not should plant something like that to them because British and French historians have already poisoned their minds, saying it is some sort of subjugation. I was talking about the case of Balarama statue, the Vishnu statue of Phnom Rung in Thailand, which was brought from Metropolitan Museum of New York in 1991. I remember it was a national news in the country. And they say Buddha has come back. These were the news of the Buddhist people. But from that is the Vishnu of reclining Vishnu on the Sheshanaga. But you see, when they are happier with that kind of concept, Indian youth models should long involve into understanding the Buddhist ideology which is found in Jataka stories. Our biggest disconnect in Indian youth is that we are not knowing Jatakas. Indian youth has such a great disconnect. They should learn more about Buddhist Jataka stories, how the ideals are presented by Buddha. That is most important for us to learn in India.
Thank you, sir. One more question. How can India, the home of Buddha Dharma, revive your ancient Buddhist wisdom and heritage following Southeast Asian countries' example? And this is from Dr. Sonam.
Dr. Sonamla Teshidilek, the most important thing here is that you find our understanding of educational imparting of past of India has been very, very dull. We have been given no chance to understand India by Indians' mind of view. We have always been told in a different frame. So it is no harm at all to learn back from Southeast Asia that how they do behave with the two religion with single frame, Hindu Buddhism I'm referring to, with a single frame without any inhibition. without any situation of shamelessness or shamefulness. So this is very important to understand. For them, it is heritage. For us, it is becomes a religion. We have to understand this difference. Indian people must learn a lot by not emphasizing the gap which has been taught for so many decades in India, but as a compromise or as a accommodating ideas of two different streams. Finally, when you talk about Buddhism and Buddha, you will find lots of references of Indic nature of culture. I will not even tell Hindu culture because Hindu is a word of very late origin. So Indic culture has the same kind of fervor which you find much more flourishing, taken care of in these parts of the world. That is the beauty where you find Brahma, 14,000 Brahma temples in Thailand. We have only one in Pushkar, Rajasthan. So does it mean that we are very bad? No. Or does it mean they are very, very good? No. The respect has to be respected. Their reverence has to be admired by us. We should learn in that frame, then we are good Indian citizen.
Uh, uh, Professor Lochan, there's another question from Dr. Sonam. She asks, why are you weary of the phrase engaged Buddhism? How is it related with neo-colonialism?
Uh, for that, you have to go into the recent development. You see, engaged Buddhism was started in late 70s. That time it was some concept. You see, when you say engaged Christianity is the big issue in Europe. You have to know that also. The number of people, youth, not going to church is now going down so drastically in entire Christian world. The number of youth is now less than 5%. At least we are 45% youth in India going to the temples, but there is 5%. So they have started some formula to engage the youth to come back to Christianity. And that formula was hijacked and brought to say about engaged Buddhism. Buddhism is most engaged. We don't need to be called new engagement of Buddhism. Right from the day one, Buddhist monk wakes up and involves in giving sermons, advices to the people. He connected with families by going on alms collection in the morning. He is all the time engaged. Protection of the trees in Thailand, they put yellow rope around the tree, which are 100-year, 200-year-old tree. I mean, they have been engaged. What sort of engagement they want? If Buddhism is the only religion, if you call religion, seriously most engaged in the world. They put involvement of Upasaka, they put involvement in the name of Upasika, they put name involved in the name of Bhikshu and Mahasthavira. Every concept is full of engagement. Do we have to emphasize that? They are. If you are going to offer some center for AIDS treatment, which they do in Cambodia and Thailand, then you can do that. Okay? Thank you.
Sir, if they get a professor, they will have all the questions. I think they have two, three more. If you can just answer them, sir. Yeah. This is a question from
Sorry.
yeah, Mr. Rajesh
Sorry.
Sharma.
Yeah, thank you so much for. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Uh,
very.
there's a question from Mr. Rajesh Sharma. He wants to know
Please. Sorry.
what is the
Yes, please.
yeah, what is the percentage of youth following Buddhist philosophy in Southeast Asia, and what is the percentage of youth following Buddhist philosophy in India?
Rajesh ji, you're in Indian, like me. You must know better than me. You're a scholar. I'm only caller. So, number of Indians, you see, when you talk about number, this percentage game I don't like. Why? Because something is so much inbuilt in our behavior, and we are Buddhist. All of we are Buddhist. Do we have any hatred for Buddhism? No. So we are Buddhist. What is the formula to define Buddhism? This is my question. How do you define percentage and I am Buddhist or not Buddhist? If I am going to Buddhist, you see the number of people in India visiting a Buddhist site is the India's topmost place is Bodh Gaya. That is now it has beaten Taj Mahal in last 3 years as the most visited by any tourist. 85% of the tourists coming to Bodh Gaya is Indian people. According to your formula, they may not be Buddhism, they may not be Buddhist. And then you will cut and make percentage India 2% just going around Nagpur or Aurangabad area. It's not that. Buddhism is not only there. Buddhism is everywhere in India. So percentage wise, studying Indian psychology of mind or Buddhist face will be the biggest crisis, which will be very difficult for us to understand. Now, going back to youth, they are struggling. They have 100% Buddhism. They are losing it slowly by slowly. Can you believe what happened in South Korea? Today, the number of Buddhism in South Korea is only 43%. From 86% of 1920s, just in the last 100 years. They are losing, their percentage going, they are 100%, they are going down. That's why youth are waking up there. That is the reason we have to learn from their model. But here we are taught about the differences of Buddhism. Where you read about the growth and origin of Buddhism in any syllabus, anywhere in India, any school, any high school, any curriculum, first cause is given a protest against Hinduism, a reaction against Brahmanism. This. How come we can make our youth understand who are
Right.
we? So, I mean, I have many strong thoughts on the subject, on this subject, and I'm very glad that you asked this question to allow me to speak like that.
So one last question, though this was addressed to all the speakers, I thought let me, because I missed it out in the chat box. This is from Hansraj. He asks, Buddha was the ninth avatar of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu was of which Dashavatar is known as the 10 incarnations, the most talked about. According to religious texts, Gautam Buddha avatar, the originator of Buddhism. So, if Buddhism is Buddhism a segment of Hinduism, or is it part of Hinduism? I think you have partly answered this question to one of the earlier questions, but
Yeah, this is, Professor, is very important to understand that our mindset is completely poisoned. We are going, see, the Dashavatara panel and a reference of Dashavatara and Buddha is only in 1.5% of the entire Indian literature. 98.5% they do not talk about that. 75 pieces of only sandstone and uh, other type of stone where we have that panel of 10 avatars. Only 75 pieces. And they are just talked about that only. They don't talk about other millions of other images. So the way we are being taught has to be changed. Buddha is in our heart and soul. We cannot wake up every morning without Buddha in our thought. There are many reasons, but it is only ye and us. We have to learn that. I think we should, I will recommend the organizer to understand Buddhism defined type of conference to be done in Asian platform. That will be a good idea to do. There we can discuss freely, thoroughly, and of course in person. No more video type of thing. No more WebEx. The money going to America to WebEx company. Whether you do in Zoom, every money goes out of India. So I will recommend you to have certain kind of dialogues in this platform by a different name of the conference, Asia and Buddhism in Action, how to act. This is very important. Thank you so much.
thank
I,
you.
I,
Thank you.
I,
Thank you very much for
I
ending
take
on
your
that
permission to
very,
leave. I have
thank you.
another meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaskar.